It was a rainy Tuesday morning in Chicago. The streets were noisy with traffic, and people hurried with umbrellas, trying not to get wet. Inside a small coffee shop, a young man named Ethan sat near the window with his laptop. Ethan was 25, fresh out of college, and full of dreams. He wanted to start his own business one day. He wanted freedom, success, and maybe even inspire others. But the truth was, he felt stuck. Every time he scrolled through social media, he felt worse. His friends were getting good jobs, traveling the world, and showing off expensive things. Meanwhile, Ethan was unemployed, unsure of himself, and drinking cheap coffee. While he stared at his unfinished resume, an older man walked in. His name was Mr. Bennett. He was in his late 50s, with silver hair and calm eyes. People in the neighborhood whispered that he was a self-made millionaire who had built several companies. Mr. Bennett noticed Ethan's frustrated face. With a friendly smile, he asked, "Mind if I sit here?" Ethan looked up, surprised. "Oh, sure." The older man sat down, placed his cup of black coffee on the table, and studied Ethan for a moment. "Rough morning?" he asked. Ethan sighed. "You could say that. I'm trying to figure out my life. Everyone else seems to know what they're doing. I don't." Mr. Bennett chuckled. "You know, the truth is, most people don't. But there's one thing I've learned. Successful people, people who really make it, they think differently. And that changes everything." Ethan leaned forward. "Differently? How?" Mr. Bennett took a slow sip of his coffee. "That's a long story. Want to hear it?" Ethan closed his laptop. "Please, I need this." And so began a conversation that would change Ethan's life forever. "The first difference," Mr. Bennett said, "is how successful people see problems. Most people complain. They see obstacles and say, 'Why me?' But successful people, they see opportunities hidden inside problems." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "That sounds like positive thinking." Mr. Bennett shook his head. "It's more than that. It's about asking better questions. Instead of, 'Why is this happening to me?' they ask, 'What can I learn from this? How can I use it?'" He leaned back. "When I started my first company, everything went wrong. Our product failed. Customers were angry. I lost money. Most people told me to quit, but I asked myself, what is this failure teaching me? I realized the real value wasn't the product. It was customer service. So I built my next business around that idea. And it worked." Ethan's eyes widened. "So failure isn't the end?" "Failure," Mr. Bennett said slowly, "is tuition. It's the price you pay to learn. The question is, do you learn or do you just complain?" Mr. Bennett continued, "Another way successful people think differently. They play the long game. Most people want quick wins. They chase instant success. But real success takes time." Ethan nodded. "That's hard for me. I get impatient." Mr. Bennett smiled. "We live in a world that wants everything fast. Fast food, fast internet, fast results. But think about planting a tree. You don't eat fruit the next day. It takes years. But once it grows, it gives fruit for decades. That's vision." Ethan thought about how often he jumped from idea to idea, quitting when results didn't come fast. He felt embarrassed. "Don't worry," Mr. Bennett said. "Patience is rare. But if you can train yourself to think long-term, you'll already be ahead of most people." "What else?" Ethan asked eagerly. Mr. Bennett's eyes sparkled. "Successful people have what's called a growth mindset. Most people think their skills are fixed. 'I'm not good at math,' or 'I can't do business.' They trap themselves. But successful people believe they can learn. They see skills as muscles. The more you use them, the stronger they get. Ethan thought for a moment. So if I'm bad at something now, it doesn't mean I'll always be bad at it? Exactly. I was terrible at public speaking when I started. I used to shake and forget my words. But I practiced again and again until it became natural. That's the growth mindset. You don't say, I can't. You say, I can't yet. Ethan felt a spark of hope. Mr. Bennett leaned closer. Here's another difference. Most people think success is about big moments. But successful people know it's about small daily habits. What you do every day builds your future. He pulled a small notebook from his jacket. Inside were neat checklists. I still track my habits. Exercise, reading, writing goals. Simple things. Because success is not one big jump. It's thousands of small steps. Ethan thought about his own days. Sleeping late, scrolling on his phone, procrastinating. He realized he wasn't building anything. Start small, Mr. Bennett advised. Wake up earlier. Read 10 pages a day. Write down your goals. Tiny habits compound into massive results. Another big difference, Mr. Bennett said, is who you spend time with. Average people surround themselves with complainers. Successful people surround themselves with dreamers, doers, and believers. Ethan nodded slowly. His current friends like to drink and complain about work. They laughed at big dreams. Mr. Bennett noticed his expression. It doesn't mean you abandon your friends. But if you want to grow, you need people who challenge you, inspire you, and push you higher. Energy is contagious. Ethan swallowed hard. He knew this would be a tough change, but he also knew it was true. Ethan asked, So success is about money, right? Mr. Bennett shook his head firmly. No, money is a byproduct. The real secret? Successful people focus on service. They ask, how can I help? How can I add value? The more value you give, the more rewards you receive. He smiled. And don't forget gratitude. When you're grateful, you stop focusing on what you lack and start seeing what you already have. Gratitude makes you stronger. Service makes you valuable. Put them together and you'll go far. Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. For the first time, success didn't sound like chasing money. It sounded like purpose. Hours passed in the coffee shop. Ethan listened, took notes, and asked questions. By the time Mr. Bennett stood to leave, Ethan felt transformed. You've given me so much, Ethan said. Mr. Bennett smiled. Now it's up to you. Remember, think differently, act daily, play the long game, and surround yourself with the right people. Do that, and you'll find your own path. He shook Ethan's hand and walked into the rainy street. Ethan sat back, his heart racing. He didn't have all the answers yet, but he had something more important, a new way of thinking. The next morning, Ethan woke up earlier than usual. Instead of scrolling on his phone, he wrote 3 goals in a notebook. He read 10 pages of a book. He applied for 1 job and sent 1 message to a potential mentor. They were small actions, but for the first time in months, he felt in control. Every day, he added a little more. Morning exercise, less social media, practicing gratitude. At night, he wrote down 3 good things that happened. Weeks passed, and something inside him changed. His confidence grew. He stopped comparing himself to others and started comparing himself to yesterday's Ethan. After months of persistence, Ethan landed a job at a small startup. It wasn't glamorous, but it was a place where he could learn. Instead of complaining about low pay, he asked himself, what can I learn here? He learned marketing, teamwork, and discipline. His boss noticed his energy and gave him more responsibility. Ethan wasn't the smartest in the room, but he was the most curious, and that made him stand out. One night, Ethan returned to the same coffee shop. He opened his notebook and wrote down the lessons he had learned. Problems are opportunities. Play the long game. Growth mindset. I can't yet. Habits create the future. Surround yourself with dreamers. Gratitude and service lead to true success. He looked at the list and smiled. This was no longer just advice from Mr. Bennett. These were his own principles now. For the first time in years, Ethan felt excited. Not because success had arrived, but because he was becoming the kind of person who could create it. Years later, Ethan would go on to start his own company. He faced failures, doubts, and sleepless nights. But every time he struggled, he remembered the rainy morning conversation with Mr. Bennett. He no longer thought like the average person. He thought like someone who believed in growth, patience, service, and long-term vision. And that made all the difference. Final message. Success is not luck. It's not talent. It's not magic. It's a way of thinking. When you change the way you think, you change the way you live. Ethan discovered this truth in a coffee shop on a rainy day. Now it's your turn. Think differently. Start today.